Hey everybody, welcome back to Darth Snoogen's Toy Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at Masters of the Universe, Orko. Yeah, so we've got a couple of different versions here in front of us. We have our Vintage, we have our Origins, we have our 2021 Netflix CGI series, and then in the back we have the Revelation Masterverse version, which came packaged with Savage He-Man. Now, we don't care about Savage He-Man. We're going to talk about him in another video. But I am going to get this Orko out, which is really a shame that he's basically billed as includes Orko. Alright, so stand by. We're going to open this up. And again, with all the Masterverse, you got the tape right at the top. This one has two pieces. We're just going to slide this out, and we're going to pop our Orko out. Looks like he's got a couple of ties holding him in. There we go. Alright, so now we have our Masterverse version unpackaged. Let's go ahead and take a look at these figures. So we'll start with our Vintage. He came with a pull string plastic piece that would make him spin around like a top. He's got a little thing on the bottom of it there. He also came with a little magic trick, which was essentially just a little plastic container that had these little coins that look like the other characters. You can move his arms up and down. You can remove his hat, although I don't think it was something they were really advertising. Alright, so there's not really a whole lot going on with this Vintage Orko. Now, an interesting side note, when they created the Filmation series, they based it on the toy line. They did not have an Orko toy in the beginning. Orko was created for the show itself, not for the original toy line. But he was created to be comic relief, and that's something they did in the 80s with all of the old cartoons. Always had that one character that was silly, and think, was it 7 Zark 7 from Battle of the Planets? Or the little kid's scooter / robot thing from Mask, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but you get the point. A lot of these characters were created just to be silly and just to keep the comic relief going. Alright, so moving on, we're going to take a look at our Origins. Now this, I really like this figure because it's so classic Orko, yet you get the articulation. He has bend at the elbow. He's got a swivel at the elbow. You can move his hands. They spin. You can turn his head. You cannot remove the hat like the Vintage. And then he comes with this little base that you can remove, make him more like your Vintage Orko. But I like to keep him on that display. It just kind of keeps him in height with the other characters. Very cool. I really dig the articulation. I think they hit a home run with this one. It's such an improvement over the original. Alright, so moving ahead, first we got this Masterverse version from Revelation, because that premiered before the CG series. And I was happy to get this because I thought it was really cool what they did with this character in the series. But I'll tell you, there's not a whole lot to this figure, which is probably why it was just listed as an addition, like Savage He-Man includes Orko, because there's not really a whole lot going on with this figure. You do have plenty of rotation on the head, and it feels a little loose. He's got, let's see, I don't know if you can take that off or not. Yeah, you can actually take the head off. Remove some of the garments if you want. That's kind of cool. You can remove the arms, but the arms are really, really soft. They do have that rotation, but they feel like if you mess with them a whole lot, you could probably break them pretty easily. Now again, just like with the Origins version, you come with the little stand for him to look like he's floating. That also comes off. There we go. Now we got him on a stand. Pretty neat. Alright, so the biggest departure in all these figures is going to be our CG Orko, which, if you haven't noticed yet, he's not a Trollan. He's actually a robot. So the story goes that he is programmed with the knowledge and memories of the ancient Trollan Orko. So this robot thinks that he is in fact Orko. So he is pretty much the comic relief of this show, although it is a kids show, and honestly most of the characters have funny moments throughout the series. But I thought it was a neat take. So they're not saying no, there is no Orko. They're just saying in this universe, in this timeline, Orko is from in the past, and this robot thinks that he is in fact Orko. So he's got this little base. There is a little roller thing on the bottom. Lets him roll around. Not very well. You cannot remove this base, unlike the other Orkos, which that's a negative. But this is a $10 figure. Depending on where you're getting it, I think they're now running about $11.99. But anyway, it's one of the cheaper toys out there. Alright, so let's get some measurements. So let's see how these guys stack up to each other. Now, to be fair, our original Orko did not come with a stand, so he's really going to come in so he's just at 3.5 inches. Our Origins Orko with the stand is at that 5.5 inch mark. Let's get him without. Actually, he's below the 3.5 inch, and it probably has to do with the fact that instead of his hat coming up, it bends down more. And it's really hard to tell from this camera angle, but this one is in fact a little taller. Alright, so we'll go ahead and jump to our Masterverse version. We'll try to get him up straight as best we can. 3.5 inches. With his stand. And let's tilt his head up where he's looking straight. He's at just over 5 inches. Now, our CG robot Orko. We only have one way to measure him because his stand does not come off, and he's right at 5 inches. So, this is going to be a short video compared to some of the other ones. But I didn't want to take up too much of your day. It is 4th of July. Everybody get out there, have fun with your families, enjoy your time together. Remember to stay safe, and I appreciate you guys watching. Happy 4th of July. Thanks.